Hey, tired of fighting food? Carnivore removes the noise. No sugar, no seed oils, no maybe foods. For many, cravings drop, digestion calms, and fat loss finally starts. Here's the right way to do it in under 5 minutes. So let's start with why carnivore works in simple, plain English. If insulin drops, fat burning turns up. So, what you actually eat and some things to avoid. So, the base foods are ruminant meats. These are things like beef and lamb, things that have multi-chambered stomach. About how to start, sort of a 14-day quick start. So, days 1 through 3, 3 meals a day, protein focused first on each of those meals. So if moderation worked, you wouldn't be watching this. Carnivore is simple on purpose. Animal foods only for a set period to calm the gut, crush cravings, and lower insulin. So today, why it works, how to do it, who it's for, and the pros and cons so you can try it correctly. So let's start with why carnivore works in simple, plain English. If insulin drops, fat burning turns up. So no sugar or starch equals fewer insulin spikes, and which then creates an easier access to stored fats. Cravings begin to quiet. You start to see high protein plus fat equals satiety. Hyperpalatable triggers are gone, things like sugar. Gut gets a break. No fiber fermenting in an inflamed gut, less bloating and gas for many, many people. And it's the ultimate elimination diet. It removes common irritants, things like gluten, seed oils, oxalates, lectins, additives, and it finally helps you find triggers later on. So what you actually eat and some things to avoid. So the base foods are ruminant meats. These are things like beef and lamb, things that have multi-chambered stomach. Things like eggs and seafood, butter, tallow, salt to taste. These are your basic foods. Also okay for many people, pork, chicken, hard cheeses, although you have to test tolerance a little bit there, and bone broth. Things to absolutely avoid, which are plants, including seed oils, sugar and starches, processed keto snacks, and sauces and rubs with hidden carbohydrates. So here's a dairy tip too. If weight loss stalls or cravings linger, make sure to pull the milk/yogurt first. Retest aged cheeses later. All right, so now let's talk about how to start, sort of a 14-day quick start. So days 1 through 3, 3 meals a day, protein focused first on each of those meals. Do not undereat. You do not have to portion control. We want to make sure that you're getting adequate nutrition during this period. Make sure you salt your food. You want to add electrolytes because when you have low insulin levels, that causes you to lose electrolytes. So you need to make sure you replace those electrolytes. Now on days 4 through 7, 2 to 3 meals a day, no snacks. And you want to break the grazing habit. Now on days 8 through 14, you're gonna settle into 2 solid meals and you're gonna eat to satiety. You're gonna eat until you're comfortably stuffed. You wanna keep it simple, things like beef, eggs, seafood, butter, bacon. Always throw some bacon in there. Plate target on each meal is about 30 to 50 grams of protein plus fat to satisfaction. And then in terms of hydration and electrolytes, these are vital for the first 2 weeks. As I mentioned, low insulin causes you to excrete more salt and more water. And salt, of course, are those electrolytes. And when talking about training, absolutely keep lifting if you're doing resistance training, and don't chase personal records in week 1. You may notice a little bit of a drop off in that first 1 to 2 weeks. All right, let's talk about advantages versus disadvantages of the carnivore diet. So first, the advantages. Absolutely noticed this first one myself when I started keto or carnivore. It was satiety. It's easier adherence to this diet than any other diet I've ever tried. Fewer decisions to make. And when there's fewer decisions, that equals lower friction. You get stable glucose and insulin levels, which now allows for easier fat loss. You'll probably see a big weight loss in the beginning, a lot of that water and electrolytes, but you're gonna start tapping into fat loss and burning fat for fuel. So you're definitely gonna notice some fat loss as well as the water losses early on. And then you're gonna notice your GI may calm down for many, especially if you suffer from ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel or any of these autoimmune / GI issues. And you may also notice some skin and joint benefits, which are reported by many, and I absolutely notice this in myself. So some disadvantages. We're going to give an honest review of carnivore here. Some disadvantages, you're going to come into some social friction, no question about it. When you eat with others, it gets much more challenging. I have found that when I eat for myself at home, significantly easier to follow the carnivore diet, excuse me. But when you go to events or when you go out to a restaurant, you're definitely going to notice some social friction. There is an adaptation period. You have to make sure you push through that adaptation phase. Many people call it the keto or carnivore flu. You may get things like headaches and fatigue. This very often is from those electrolytes that I mentioned, loss of electrolytes, which will decrease your energy level, cause these headaches. So make sure you salt all your meats. Make sure you add electrolytes, especially during the early stages, because your electrolytes are going to be low, and that'll help kind of ward off some of these adaptation problems that we see early on. There may be a possible dairy dependence and what we call cheese creep. It's a little bit easier to overeat the cheese than it is to overeat the meats. So early on, be very cautious of adding cheese to the mix. Make sure you mix your cheese into the meat, and this way you're getting the appropriate amount. It's super easy to overeat the cheese if you're just kind of eating it on the side. So be careful with that. And not ideal without medical guidance for certain situations, such as if you're pregnant, if you have an eating disorder history, or you have complex medical issues and you're on a number of medications, like say for diabetes or hypertension, you need to have some medical guidance to alter those issues. Now, let's talk about who benefits most. And this is actually the reason that I started carnivore myself, primarily was insulin resistance. So if you're insulin resistant now, if you have stubborn weight that you need to get off and you've struggled getting it off with other diets, if you have things like PCOS or fatty liver, this diet will benefit those types of people the most. If you have bloating, if you have irritable bowel, if you have ulcerative colitis or any of these other autoimmune gut issues, you will definitely benefit more. And if you have suspected food triggers, this is the ultimate elimination diet that allows you to kind of wean those things out and then eventually replace one by one, and you can kind of get a better sense of what your food triggers are. People who will also benefit greatly, people who are food addicted or have binge eating patterns will benefit greatly from this diet. And then finally, people craving simplicity over spreadsheets. The beautiful thing about this diet is you're not counting calories, you're not even really counting macros. You simply eat the appropriate foods to being comfortably stuffed. And it really is very, very simple. You don't have to break out a calculator. There's no math involved with this diet. And then you want to focus on creating ketosis. You'll often drift into and out of ketosis on carnivore. And you'll definitely drift into ketosis. You have to be careful not to drift out of ketosis by eating carbs. But if you stick to pure carnivore, you're not going to drift out of ketosis because the carbs are near zero. So you don't need to chase numbers. You don't have to break out a calculator. You just eat protein, eat to satiety, and just eliminate those carbohydrates. So carnivore isn't magic, it's clarity. If you remove the foods that confuse your hormones and your gut, your body finally gets the message. So start simple, salt liberally, prioritize protein, and if in doubt, eat steak and eggs. Really pretty simple. So don't forget, here on the Obesity Project, we're cutting through the myths and we're getting to the root. Now, stay tuned because the next episode, 111, is 30 days on carnivore, the exact plan to start. No guesswork involved. And check out the Carnivore Series playlist to follow along step by step. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.